time is running out. The prophecies say Fimbulwinter leads to Ragnarok. War is coming. My story doesn't end hiding in these woods. I should be out there, finding out who I am, who Loki is.
I will not allow you to pick a fight with gods.
I don't want to fight anyone. I just want answers.
And if those answers lead to war with Asgard,
maybe that's what Mother wanted.
we do not know what Mother wanted.
Well, I recognize that dour expression anywhere. Odin's got tricks up his sleeve we haven't dared to consider.
What if there was someone who could help us?
You mean Tyr, the old god of war in these lands, who is dead?
Well, for a dead man, Odin seemed pretty keen on seeing he wasn't found.
If he's out there, we gotta find him.
Come in. What in all yarns be the happen to him?
We're trying to stop Ragnarok, to help people. And what if the only way to do that is war?
War is not the only way.
Stop thinking like a father for a moment and start thinking like a general.
No!
You seem like a calm and reasonable person. Are you a calm and reasonable person?
In moments of crisis, panic does nothing. Harness it. Let it serve you.
Tyr!
Are you coming with us?
You'll get your answers soon enough. Well, some of them. PlayStation.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Northern Nerdcast. I am Brad, and joining me, as always, is Clayton and Adam, aka Spenny McGee. Welcome back. It's been a long time, but I just wanted to introduce our next guest. You'll know him as Sindri from God of War, Roy Earl from LA Noire, as well as a plethora of TV shows. Please welcome Adam J. Harrington. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, everybody. Great to be here.
I guess there's that. We'll just get the Canadian connection out of the way because we're all Canadian here. This is great.
Yeah.
Like, it's but you're based out in LA now.
Yeah.
Surfing time.
Surfing time. Yeah. I grew up, I was born in Hamilton, grew up in Burlington and Dundas, and then moved out west 1995. And then I was there till 2007 or 8, and then moved to LA from there.
Okay, I got to tell you something. I was born in Hamilton, and my grandparents were in Dundas. And so I actually went back there this following summer, and just to look at my grandparents' old house and everything.
Yeah.
How long has it been since you've been back there?
Oh, I was there in October for Thanksgiving.
Oh, well, there you go. That place has really built up. It has changed a lot.
Yeah. Thank God it hasn't built up too much. Like they've kept that main street, but boy, yeah, it's gentrified.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it, like, because I remember going down there when I was a little kid and everything. And my grandparents moved away to British Columbia when I was 8 or 9. So we just happened to be taking a trip down to Niagara Falls. So I decided, okay, well, let's stop by the old house and have a look at it. And it was like, before it was like way out in the middle of nowhere, and now it's, right next door to, actually, there's a bunch of like mining, like pit mining or whatever going on there. It's really weird. It's like they got the farm, and then you've got a bunch of houses, and then all of a sudden there's like heavy construction going on.
Yeah, it's that whole. It's funny when the different places I've lived. Southern Ontario, well, actually all of Ontario, but that area of Southern Ontario is really rare worldwide to have so much. To drive out your front door within 2 minutes, you're into produce farming country.
Yeah.
Where most places are agricultural or animal farming country. But you're right. You got the mines, the strip mines, and then you've got the farming, and then the Niagara Escarpment and the Bruce Trail, and it was a cool place to grow up.
Different everywhere you look.
Yeah.
Ooh,
so yeah, that's the Canadian factor. But also, I'm very proud to say that I have spent time in each of your cities. Kirkland Lake. I went to Moosonee as a kid with my family, and we hit Kirkland Lake on the way and did a tour of the mine, and then took the Polar Bear Express to Moosonee. I was saying to Adam, Sault Ste. Marie, I drove through when I moved out west because I drove, but also as a kid, we did the Agawa Canyon trip, which was phenomenal.
Yeah,
I went to Sault Ste. Marie and went to Sault Ste. Marie among the Hurons, which it was like a recreation of an Indian village.
Oh, okay.
But the movie they showed there when I was a kid was The Massacre.
Oh,
it's Saint Marie among the Hurons, yeah.
Saint Marie among the Hurons. It was a lot of blood. Yeah. And then Sudbury was a novelty when I was a kid because it was when the old smokestack was lower. The super stack, before the super stack, when the acid rain had killed every little bit of vegetation.
Oh, yeah, the black rocks.
Yeah, we had been told that that NASA had practiced their moon buggies up there. Now, of course, it doesn't look that way. But when I was a kid, we would go to a place called Camp Macmac on the French River, which is on the south shore of Lake Nipissing. I think it still exists. So you'd go through. Sudbury's familiar with that, or hitting up Manitoulin Island and Georgian Bay and Lake Huron and all that stuff. So yeah, when you had reached out, and I looked you guys up, I'm like, oh, we got to do this.
We appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
It's awesome to have that connection. The connection.
Yeah, I love it. I'll play some Gordon Lightfoot in the background.
It's read my love.
Yeah.
It's been a very great couple of years for yourself, like with God of War, and I mean, we had talked about this off before Clayton came on, and I'm sure he's going to ask the same thing. But Valhalla was stealth dropped at the Video Game Awards, so I got to ask because I'm taking it from Clayton, and again, I'm sure you don't know anything, but do you know anything?
Two things. One, I really know nothing. They're extremely tight-lipped over there. And two, we get probably every 3 or 4 months the reminder email from the publicity department that we know nothing. But honestly, yeah. And then, by the way, you signed an NDA about the NDA.
Yeah.
No, I don't know nothing. I was really happy that I knew that there was downloadable content being made. I didn't know who was involved with it. I just certainly know I wasn't. But it was really nice to see it drop before the holidays, and that it was free, and then they had such a kickoff at the Game Awards, and that. Oh no! Why am I blanking on his name? The musician, the composer,
Bear McCreary.
Bear. Sorry. Yeah, it's one of those days. Happens with age. And that Bear's beautiful music was in there too.
Clayton's a real big Souls style person, so this expansion's right up his alley. Like I'm gonna play it through to see the story off, because the rumors being that it's supposed to lead into this semi-sequel or whatever you want to call it with Atreus, which is why I'm sure you'll probably get asked by a lot of people, like with what Adam hasn't played it, so I don't really want to spoil, but I mean, we're gonna kind of get into that territory, where like Sindri had this is what pain looks like that. Man, that really spoke to a lot of people. But
this is what sorry looks like.
This is what sorry looks like. Yeah. But just to see, like, well, is Sindri gonna get his revenge, and is this where we're gonna see Kratos come back as like that raging god that he was in the original God of War. And that's one thing that Clayton and I have talked about a lot when we were doing our like the podcast on Spotify, was like I didn't play the original God of War like Clayton did. Like I just recently started doing it now, but I really like the 2018, and I loved Ragnarok. But whereas Clayton felt the raginess wasn't there, like just a killing machine. So is this what is the catalyst to make Kratos go back to being crazy? There's just so much fan theories. What's the craziest fan theory that you have heard about anything with Sindri or Atreus?
Oh, I see. The problem is I can't. If I say something's crazy, it's going to make it sound like I know something's coming.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I think what's been really cool is that the reaction to the storyline has kind of run. I'm trying to protect Adam here. The reaction to the storyline has run the gamut of friendship to Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And I like that because it means we told the story well and that people are kind of excited. And every time they're like, nobody said, I don't care, which is nice. Yeah. Nobody said, I don't care what happens to Sindri, which means we did our job. And so no matter what the theory is, I just love it because it shows that, people responded to it. They got excited by it and they had a good time playing it.
I feel
By the way, Adam, he's not Darth Vader. that I can confirm.
I feel like the supporting characters, like all the characters in that game, were written so well that basically any of them could have stepped up and it wouldn't have been, out of the, it wouldn't have been believable. Like it was some come from behind thing where you're like, what? No, they didn't spend any time developing that character, and now all of a sudden they're, the ones who are making big moves at the end of the game. And I feel like the writing, like you guys all got really brilliantly written characters. And it's so nice to play a game that's got such an awesome action system, plus an incredible narrative. Like
couldn't agree more. I think the risk was, especially for Sindri, because it's such a massive shift.
Yeah.
That we all kind of, when they sat down with me and they gave me the storyline, there were parts of it that were shocking, protecting Adam. There were parts of it that were shocking. But we were all just, we all just really wanted to make sure that the players accepted it, that it wasn't kind of like a jumping the shark moment where they're like, what? There's no way.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's a testament to the writing. The writing was so tight. I think that our directors, the way the cast all worked together, our lead, Chris Judge, really set a tone of let's bring it. Let's, there's a lot of pressure on us, but let's have a blast. Let's bring it. We all got each other's backs, and let's give everybody an effing phenomenal experience. And then also the incredible animation team, because, the way that obviously there was voice and physical changes with Sindri, but the way they portrayed him visually and the effect of the plot line on him, I think I remember reading some feedback that people were quite shocked on some of those close-ups of him after the event. And that really hit them in the gut.
Cadence of his face changed, kind of thing.
There's a scene where even the color of his eyes have changed, and what he's got all over him and what he's not wearing anymore. This is tough, Adam.
Yeah,
making this real hard.
I was gonna say, even the viewers who have all played the game, they're gonna want specifics here too. So by all means, jump on in there. You don't have to save it for me, but I do want to jump in. Sorry.
Okay.
I do want to just say though that for all the specific writing, and I've heard obviously like nothing but fantastic things about it, but you did bring a BAFTA nominated voicing to this. So again, it's your character bringing this to life, like that can't be understated here too.
I appreciate that. There are still nights where I will wake up in the middle of the night and think, "Oh God, did it? Okay, it worked. We did it." And not only that, it was a while ago now.
Yeah.
But no, that was a look. As you can appreciate, growing up in Canada, we have such a connection to the UK. And when I was growing up, you know, obviously amazing film actors and TV actors out of the States. But the people that could really nail Shakespeare and that stuff and that group, my eye was over there. So to get nominated for a BAFTA, especially for a role that required, because we voiced it, but we did all the mocap. So the physical work, because of the Sindri's a 4 foot something dwarf and carries himself in a very specific way. And something happens in the game where his entire personality is affected by something and it changes. So his physicality changed. His voice changed. So it was really cool because the way you would have to approach theater is the way I wanted to approach doing Sindri. So to get a BAFTA nomination for all that stuff combined, I mean, dude, it was such a trip.
Fantastic.
You know, yeah.
We've been fortunate enough to like chat with a lot of BAFTA nominees, and we had Jane Perry on recently. But a lot of Canadians, I'm just saying, like John McClaren, you had like all of the Guardians of the Galaxy, almost all that cast was nominated as well. And like it's a testament to all of you guys. Like, I mean, yeah, obviously it's a script that you guys are given, but it's your delivery on how you see this character. Now, in terms of Sindri and even Roy Earl, did you have any input in what the character was going to, like, the mannerisms, or was that basically this is how you're going to do it, but do it this way kind of thing, if that makes sense?
So for Roy Earl, that was really in the early days of mocap, let alone the face technology they used for that. So a lot of it was, a lot of attention was paid to that stuff. But as far as him, no, I just think I came on set acting like I was the lead of the game and everyone should be so lucky. And I thought, just lean into this guy. He's a 1940s racist, misogynistic cop who's also really smart. And I think they just went with it and they loved it. I think that the only input I didn't have was on what he wore, because when I saw that suit, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And they said, no, trust us. Just trust us. And of course I did. And then with Sindri in 2018, I know when I auditioned for it, he wasn't what the finished product was. And then once I met Robert, who plays Adam, he plays Sindri has a brother named Brock. And once Robert and I met and I saw how Robert carried himself, I thought, well, these guys have to be mirror images of each other. Like when that brand comes together, it's kind of like, I always thought they were like two sides of a whole guy.
Yeah.
And Brock has all the characteristics that guys, especially teenagers and 20-somethings, want. They want to be brash and mouthy and don't give a shit about anything. And then Sindri has all the qualities everyone hates they have. He's sensitive, melodramatic, needy. So a lot of Sindri's movements, the cowering and the nervousness, one came from the fact that he was a germaphobe, and two just kind of came as the opposite of Brock. Yeah. And then for Ragnarok, we knew what the big moment was going to be. I knew his gloves were going to come off. That told me a lot. And they said, I'm not sure if they told me, there was a discussion about how when JFK was killed, Jackie Onassis never changed her outfit. They told me he was going to be dirty, but I think there was I think I asked, does he have other stuff on him? And that gave me a lot of information. And then the other thing I thought was, I knew that what I had asked them and what I brought in was, I know that when people lose people that are very close to them, they will often consciously or unconsciously take on the characteristics that the person had. I know that when my grandfather died, my mom started doing crosswords because my grandfather did crosswords. She wanted to kind of keep him alive. And I thought, well, I think there's going to be ways that Sindri becomes Brock in order to get to the goal of what Sindri's goal is for the game. So he uses Brock's hammer now, but he swings it in the way that Brock would, not Sindri. Sindri always tapped in a kind of very tentative way, whereas Brock's just swing it. And he stands a little more upright now, and he almost takes on his brother's physicality. And those were things that you know, in those situations, it's not as an actor, you bring it in, you say, this is what I'm going to do. You come in with ideas. And then you sit down with the director and the writing team and you say, what about this? What about this? And then, you know, in the volume where we shoot, we can kind of see in real time how we're moving on the screens. So we could kind of track that and show them what the movement would look like. And they said, yeah, we like that. That's a great idea. So it's very collaborative. They're wonderful. Eric and Matt and the whole teams, it wasn't a situation where they were kind of dogmatic about it and they were like, you're going to do this and do this and do this. It was very, this is what we have. What do you think? What are you going to do? And then they'll tweak, and then they kind of go behind the monitors and have a very hushed conversation. And you hope it's going well, or are you about to get fired? That kind of thing. Yeah, that was a very long answer to your question.
So again, like Clayton had mentioned with the character development, like in the first one in 2018, they all the character, like the side characters, they felt like side characters, whereas in this one they were so fleshed out. And Adam, you're making this really hard, man.
No,
like, for me,
he's gonna have to take it. He's gonna have to take it on the chin for a couple of things.
Yeah.
Maybe we pick and choose. Maybe we just pick and choose.
I have the game like in arm's reach, so it's on me for not getting there.
For me, I noticed that something was amiss when they were making Dropnir and Sindri was going down the well, and it's like, why is he so fearful of going down there? Yeah. And then when he's trying to tell Kratos, like, don't go to the mermaid, like or the witch of the water, like it's just like, it's not good. Don't do it. And then when
he knows more than he's letting on.
Yeah. And Brock's like, well, why can't she see me, but she can see you? And then it was like, oh my God, you're dead. Sorry, Adam. But like it's just the fear, like you hear it as they're going on. Like again, he's going down the well, and at first, like, it's just this pickup, like, okay, maybe he doesn't want to go down because it's dirty, because he's a germaphobe. And then it started to make sense. And again, that goes back to how you delivered your lines, which is, it's still talked about like a year later, like just how well your role was. And I want to go back and do it again. Like, I mean, I can't, the surprise won't be there anymore, but just to be able to do, did they ever release the New Game Plus? I can't remember. They were supposed to, but just to do that again with all the new equipment and stuff to flesh out the story. But it was very well done.
I think what you guys were saying, though, it was such a good script. A lot of times the work is done for you. You just don't want to get in the way. Like, similar to you saying, you know, when he's going down there and all that stuff, it felt like the fear was there and all that, because the script was so good. And, you know, but I was blown away because they sat me down at a lunch. They took me for lunch. We knew we were going to do the Ragnarok. They took me for lunch, and Eric and Matt walked me through the entire game. And my first question was, have you called Robert, who plays Brock? Because I was feeling very protective of him, and they said, yes, we have. But same as you, like, I was having the same experiences. So those were very easy. In some ways easy. I did my work. I did my backstory. I did my work. I just wanted to make sure that it worked and that everybody was going to be on board and that they would get punched in the gut and that they would be angry and have sympathy and dealing with the loss. So I'm really happy that people responded. But I thought the script was just fantastic. And you just go along for the ride, and you just keep your fingers crossed. But
well, you answered my question about them taking you out
Okay.
for lunch, just because obviously when you signed on to 2018's, I'm sure they probably had a code name, or they got you to read some lines after you had gotten the part. They probably didn't even tell you what his real name was. Like a lot of they do, it's all coded. But like that was my question, was when the second one was announced, because sometimes they from what I've heard from other voice actors, was they have to basically reread the script to say, like, well, as you said, like Sindri's like the voice from 2018 to now has changed. But there was like, you knew right away that you were back, or did you have to re-audition, or?
No. Yeah. So they weren't particularly secretive in 2018. I didn't really understand what I was auditioning for. I didn't understand the character I was auditioning for when I auditioned. They just kind of come in. I think there's footage of it, actually, both Robert and I's audition, where they say, "Hey, you're this type of person. Here's your dialogue. Go." But then when we got to the table reads and all that stuff, everybody was on board at that point. There was no secrecy. And then with Ragnarok, I knew I was coming back. I didn't know in what aspect. I thought maybe we were just kind of like the comic relief side characters again. And then we went for lunch, and they verbally walked me through the game. And then after that, scripts were scripts, and they held us accountable for it. But once I signed on, then they told me everything. And then I was sad, and I just wanted to throw up at the same time. Because I thought
it's that gut punch. It's that gut punch.
And the arc. I thought, because this could go horrible. This could go horribly wrong, and I don't want to be the one that's dropping the ball.
Was there? I don't know if this was just like a rumor, but was there ever plans on it being a trilogy, and they wanted to have it wrapped up in two? I thought I heard that somewhere, that it was supposed to be a trilogy at one point. I don't know if you're able to shed light on that, or.
I only know things secondhand as well. Nothing confirmed by Corey, but yeah, I think there was an idea originally that would this be a trilogy, because things are often trilogies. So I think because it kind of been established that, movies are done as trilogies and things are done as trilogies, that was automatically put out there because they knew they were going to do more than one game. I don't know if it ever stayed a trilogy and then got stuck together at the last minute. To me, it doesn't play like it was meant to be a trilogy.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think if they made it a trilogy, there would have to be other story components, and it would be much bigger. But the way it plays is it was meant to be a two-parter.
The death of Balder sets everything for the second one into motion, right? And there's the big showdown with Thor. Near the beginning, right? And there's nothing really between that, unless they excise large parts of the original script, which doesn't really seem all that likely. You know what I mean? Because if you could just connect the first third and the last third together without, and get rid of that whole middle section, I don't see it. I think you're right. I think it probably just is what it is. I think it's funny, actually, that I don't think that there would ever have been a question of them keeping you on as Sindri after the first game. I think that they understood well enough that, you are probably aware of the whole shift away from T.C. Carson to Christopher Judge as Kratos, right? So they're going to want to keep, if they're telling the same story, they're going to want to keep the same people. They're going to want to, make sure, and people get invested in the characters too. They're all well-written characters. You don't want to start shooting yourself in the foot by just taking people away. Because what we've learned, Adam and Brad and I, is that over the time that we've been interviewing voice actors, people in the industry like you, is that fans really latch on to characters. Like, you guys are important. You do important work. People identify with you. You know, everybody's got their favorites and stuff, and it really hurts when voice actors get changed. I at first was really I was really burned on the fact that they got rid of TC Carson, but I understood why they did it. Like you said, you guys did all your own mocap, and I guess that was a factor. And just don't change people like midway through the narrative, you know? And I can live with it. But like, I couldn't see anybody else doing Sindri other than you. So if there's 4 more games in the mix, I hope they call you back.
Yeah, or at some point I won't be doing
saga.
or at some point I won't be doing the mocap. It'll be that. Or like C-3PO, where his suit got slightly bigger and bigger
every movie,
every subsequent movie.
Yeah.
No, I like you said right at the beginning, Clayton, I just think it's amazing how much they wrote out the side characters for Ragnarok. And let alone, who would have suspected that Sindri goes through what he does and commits an act of murder.
Yeah.
Near the end.
Looking at you, Adam.
of something, or perhaps someone, possibly, not sure, but maybe.
He did a thing, maybe.
I did a thing with a thing to a thing. Yeah.
And the story moved on.
But yeah, to your point, it's been amazing. You know, we've been doing conventions now and all that stuff. And just what blows me away is when I'm meeting people. First of all, the number of people that have unfortunately dealt with really heavy grief and loss in life, and how much the storyline of the game, and then specifically what happened to Sindri, really resonates with people. And you realize that these games become more than just games, and that it really lets them have a cathartic experience, or feel not alone, or realize that somebody's writing the same story the way they had. And when you meet people, and what you realize they're kind of saying is, you made me feel something I like.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And that's a pretty humbling, wonderful thing to get to be involved in.
Well, when an experience can be so humanized that people like and can resonate with it, or people can identify with it, and then they latch onto it. I mean, that's a sign of real like excellence in craft, I guess, you know, like you see, when you see something like Brad was saying, when you're going down the well, that fear, you know, and then the realization throughout the points in the story, it just, you never get to have that twice. If you experience a narrative, and you look back on it and you say, man, there are moments that I can watch again that will never hit me the same way again, then you know you saw something special.
Yeah. And I think that's there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people involved in this game. And to be able to make something that resonates with people, as much as 2018 kind of cleared the playing field for a moment in time, and just for all of us, it's just so much fun to be involved in, because it's like, you know, back to getting to go to the BAFTAs. It's just one of those moments where you're like, this might never happen again. I had that once at the Toronto Film Festival, and we all knew it, which was really cool. And it's a nice thing to be able to just stay in the moment of something and just think, this is really cool that this is happening and people responded this way, and I get to be a part of it, because those don't come along often.
I think you make the people who play the game feel like they're part of it too, though.
And that is a pretty awesome thing.
Which was the experience at the Toronto Film Festival?
Oh, I teed you up. Thanks, Adam. Well, there's a movie called Passchendaele.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna actually guess that.
Yeah, there was a movie that Paul Gross directed about Canada's involvement in a specific battle of Passchendaele in the First World War. And I got to be a part of that movie, and it was probably at the peak of Paul's stardom as far as North America as a whole is concerned. I mean, he's Canadian legend, all that stuff. But and we opened the Toronto Film Festival. And walking around with him, and people were screaming his name on the street. And we were all sitting in a bar. we were there the day before the opening. We're all sitting in a bar, and they were playing the trailer for the film, came on the television, all that stuff, and we all collectively agreed that this moment will not occur again.
Yeah.
And we all just kind of had a toast to getting to be involved in this moment. That is also one of the there's a few things that are on my top list of being involved in them, and that movie was one of them.
I remember Paul Gross. I don't remember much about the show, but we only ever got channels 5 and 9. We only ever got channels 5 and 9, and we used to watch when it came on Due South.
Oh yeah,
where he's the Mountie.
Yeah,
and I remember liking the show. Him and the what was it, the American Cop there?
Yeah,
him and the American Cop.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago, man. I'm in my 40s now.
Oh, you're young. You're a young man still.
Yeah, but I got the vid. Things are looking pretty hazy.
So what was that experience like on set? Because how did that experience work out for you?
Well, first of all, I wasn't even didn't think I was gonna be in it. They had started shooting, and I think they had 3 weeks to go, and I'd auditioned for it, and I wanted that part, man. I wanted it. I felt like I've got this. I remember the audition. I put on myself on tape. I wanted it, and I was in Ottawa of all places at the War Museum. And I was actually walking through the World War I trenches they had at that time there. And I was like, man, I didn't get that fucking movie. I'm so pissed off. And my agent calls. He said, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, what? He said, you got a gig. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, you got Passchendaele. So I flew to Calgary. I just moved to the U.S. They flew me up. I'm in hair and makeup, and Paul Gross comes into the makeup trailer. And this is what I love about him. He doesn't bullshit. And he's like, look, we were trying to get a name for this role, and we couldn't. And you were the best audition apart from trying to get a name, and that's why you're here. Let's go to work. And it was the perfect thing to say. And so what they did was just outside of Calgary, they took I don't know, it felt huge, but they just took a huge chunk of earth and brought in a backhoe and just churned it up. And then between the rain, this was, I think, September, October in Calgary, so it was raining anyway. Between the rain towers and the rain, it all filled up with water. And then they put all the duck planking all over it. And that was the set. Wow. So every morning, they had to give us a safety talk and a walkthrough because all the puddles and the lakes had shifted. And then the Canadian Armed Forces that were all the soldiers, they were the background. They were actually living on site in their tents. So you kind of, when you walked on set, it did have a bit of a World War I feel because they're all in period outfits and they're literally living there. But it was a phenomenal experience. He was such a good director and so good with actors and so at ease with all of the responsibilities that he had. It was just a blast. It's just a blast. It was so much fun. I mean, you're getting to, you're walking around on duck boards. There's explosions going off. You're in World War I outfits.
That's better than my day at work.
Bark. I know. I get to bark orders. I got to smoke.
You get to smoke at work. Wow.
I got to smoke at work. Yeah. I didn't have to pay for them. Yeah. Now it would be CGI.
Yeah.
They just put it in afterwards. Yeah.
I had seen you in so many things throughout the years, and we can bring up some of them. So you were on Smallville, was probably the first time I was on.
Yeah.
The episode Lexmas, and you had to perform a surgery, I believe. Was that one?
Sure. I have a vague memory of this. I know I worked on Smallville, and I think I was a surgeon.
Yes.
That's about it. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't remember much more than that.
Yeah, I think it was kind of it was a Christmas theme. He was kind of doing the Scrooge thing. What if I had this other life or whatever? And of course, went through the surgery and brought him back, and he said, "No, still evil." So.
Oh, okay.
Good one.
Really, it was one of my pivotal moments.
Not everything can be Passchendaele.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say right up there with Ragnarok and Passchendaele, apparently.
Yeah. No, but my wife and I were huge fans of Supernatural, and you were Bartholomew, one of the angels.
Yes.
And of course, that was a big kind of plot steering direction you had there. Any memory from there?
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun. Those guys were great. I knew I was going to have an epic death. That was fun. The thing I remember about that show is it was a well-oiled machine, and everybody that worked on it. It's so nice when you're in as I'm sure all you guys know, when you're in a work environment where everybody's kind of happy to be there and they're all supportive. Nobody's toxic. Nobody's walking around thinking they're God's gift to Earth.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun. And I thought I can understand why this show went 16, 17, 18, 800 years, however long it was on.
That's awesome. There was another CW show. My wife and I actually watched this one. We were quite disappointed. It only went one season. The Secret Circle.
Yeah.
And we remember you fondly on the show there as one of the lead's fathers. And, watching the story slowly unfold there, and your story is really starting to come around, because at first you were just kind of the drunkard at the
sad old drunk.
But then we got to actually start to see some more of your backstory and how things progressed and things like that. How was that experience with the show?
That was another one. I've been lucky. There's been a couple of clunkers in there, but that was a lot of fun to do. And for some of those younger cast members, it was their first experience at stuff. And you got to remember at that time, I'm not sure if CW's quite in that same place now, where there was a lot of hits, and there's a lot of pressure on these young folk to become stars and archetypes, and it was just I felt for them. Plus we were shooting an hour outside of Vancouver, and we're working 14, 15, 16-hour days. So, after a while you're like working a 16-hour day and then having to drive the Sea to Sky Highway home at night, which is it's the road from Vancouver to Whistler, which can be a bit tricky, but they're all troopers. We were all kind of bummed that it didn't go further. I know I don't think it was the cheapest thing to shoot, between the location, the huge cast, and the special effects. So I don't know if that was part of the reason, just budgeting and finance. But that was fun to work on, and just to play I didn't have any powers. Did I start to have powers in the end? Did they come back, or was I just a sad drunk who'd lost his powers the whole time? I think maybe I was a sad drunk who'd lost his powers this whole time.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that was a major part, that you guys had given up all your witching powers. But then I'm trying to draw too, if there was some that still held on to them. Get in them. And,
yeah.
And
I remember Gail Harold still had his, I think.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
It was an interesting.
Oh yeah, because he totally possessed me. I think I was throwing up. That's right. That was one of the fun things to do. They tied a water hose to the side of my face, so it looked like he was making me feel like I was drowning, and I was coughing up all this water. It was a very practical effect, but it looked fantastic on camera.
One of my favorites, in chronology, it's not exactly it was one of the more recent I saw, was finally went to Parks and Rec. And when you showed up there as the senator, it was such a funny character. Now, usually between like a lot of the LA Noire and God of War, and even like Supernatural and Secret Circle, things like that, you Passchendaele, you play a lot of more intense, serious characters. And when you showed up on Parks and Rec as this like robotic politician, I don't know if Brad, Clayton, if you guys have seen the episode, but he comes in and basically comes in as a like standard politician, like, hey, how you doing? Shaking all the hands, all the smiles,
kissing babies.
Exactly. But then, because they're in the political office and they go sit down, and when your character would sit down, you would just like shut off. And they would come and find your character, and that was so funny. It's so funny. Do you like even speaking with you today? Like you know
Yeah.
you're very funny and laid back. And do you find like clearly you found a place of that very quickly? Do you prefer to lean more into more like dramas versus comedies,
Mm.
or is it something that would you do like more a sitcom type?
Oh gosh. Well, I think whenever you're doing a comedy, the nice thing is you just get to spend all day at work laughing and having happy thoughts.
Yeah.
When I'm doing the darker stuff, I'm not methody or anything like that, but your brain goes to a dark place to make, like, you have to, for me to work, I have to empathize with the character I'm playing. So I can't sit there and just say, okay, I'm playing a sociopath. Who cares? I have to understand, try to find all his shit that when happens. So your brain has to go to some not nice places. Um, but that is a fun challenge. Like with Sindri, that's one of the most favorite characters I've ever played. I love that little guy. Happy to play him every time. Even though when we were shooting that game, there was some. I mean, those were some kind of dark. Happy at the end of the day, but to go there, like we all really did go there. With Congressman Murray. I remember the audition like it's just HD burned into my head. I remember finding out I got it. And then when you go on set, normally if you're working on something, you shoot it, and then on video playback or video village, it never looks like what's going to in the finished product. They got to tweak it, put it through color timing, all that stuff. With Parks and Rec, you know those punch-ins they do?
Yes.
They're doing that practically on the day. So when I walked to set and saw them shooting, I think it was Adam Scott's coverage, and you see them do that punch in, there's a little part of me that was like, oh my God, I'm on Parks and Rec. Oh my God, this is really happening. Look, they just did it. That was a lot of fun. And just to play that guy who the gist of the character is that when he's not being engaged with, he's just kind of sits there dumb and kind of catatonic. And he would have these little catchphrases that he would do. And when he was asked to perform, it was really good. And I think the conceit is that wouldn't it be nice if all politicians just kind of turned on when you needed them to? But otherwise just kind of shut up in a corner. And this guy was
that episode and watch it now, because that sounds like right up my alley.
It's so funny. It's so funny, and you're fantastic in it because
thank you.
Much of that season is around them working in that office. So when they finally got to see you, like why they're there, and the way you came in and just hammered it up, even your handler there, he's like, "Oh, he's the best."
I know. Wasn't he fantastic?
Oh, he was so funny.
There's the Adam Scott's character has a question. He's like, he's a little robotic, and the guy playing my handler was like, yeah,
we love him for that. Whatever. And you're like, go through some of your lines, and you just right away you just hop into it. You're like, we've been going through some distressful things, but as a people together, we're going to get this.
You even did so I ripped off Bill Clinton for the thumb.
The thumb. I noticed it right away when you did it the other day, because we can do this.
We've been through some tough times. Yeah.
Stay cool. It's hot out there.
Oh yeah, I still have my one of the women that works at my management company still signs everything Cool Beans. Which is very, very flat. I mean, they've got a lot of clients, and for her to take that effort to do that is quite sweet.
That's great.
Is that where that comes from? That's not where that comes from.
I don't think it comes from that, but they used it. Yeah. I have a feeling that phrase is a lot older than.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I just solved a riddle of my life.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
So I know I've seen in other interviews you're not an avid gamer, or you don't game at all, or like very rarely. I
tried. I'm horrible at it. So when LA Noire came out, I bought the console, I bought the game, and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do this. I couldn't even drive the car. And I can't video game environment is not one of those things that can draw my attention, so I'm not aware I'm sitting there for hours. So that was the other problem, is just to sit still for that length of time. I don't do that. So I kind of gave up after LA Noire. And then I think it was a while, and then I did a Battlefield Hardline, which was another game. And then by the time God of War came around, the internet was born and I could see the cutscenes.
Yeah.
And then have the story explained. So no, I never really jumped on board. Every once in a while I'll go to an arcade, and I can't even do the arcade games. I'm not made that way.
So then in your spare time, you're an avid surfer.
Yep.
Do you have any crazy surfing stories, like crazy waves? I see. I don't know. I don't know the lingo for, like, besides hang 10.
Well, it actually is. That's just so growing up in Southern Ontario, there's a ton of fresh water. So I grew up going on canoe trips and canoeing all the time. So that was the water. And then my first career was a marine biologist. So that was out in the Bay of Fundy and off the coast of Vancouver. And then, of course, I moved to LA, which is practically a desert where they truck their own water in. But there was an ocean there. So then surfing became that. But I will say this. You know, when you watch videos and they show people surfing and they look amazing and they're doing all this crazy stuff, they've probably been surfing since they were 5 years old every single day. It is the hardest thing how to learn, because I forget that the ocean is constantly changing. They can't repeat. It's not like practicing a move where the floor isn't moving, or you have everybody, on the football team line up and run the play. So it takes a really long time to get good at it. And I didn't pick it up until a couple of years ago. So I'm that guy out on the water, flailing around, trying to get it right. I love it. It takes a long time. But I guess the story I could have for you today is I went surfing this morning for 3 hours. I've got the neck tan to show for it. And I wasn't so much surfing as just a continual wiping out. Because the waves were big. So it was just tumble, 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 crash, tumble, 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 little wave, tumble, tumble, tumble. But those are kind of the most crazy stories. But I mean, I broke my face in Costa Rica. I put a gash in my foot. It's just, but it's fun. So
yeah,
fall
down 7 times, get up 8.
Yeah. Well, fall down 7 times. Yeah, fall down 7 times, get up on 8. But in my case today, it was like fall down 40 times and then
get up 41.
Not get up so much as try to crawl away. Yeah.
Live to fight another day.
Live to fight another day. I love that. Yeah.
Yes.
Is this something you do on trips as well then? Like you said, Costa Rica, it's not just something you do at home in LA, like when you go...
Yeah, it was when COVID hit, there was a bunch of us that had booked a trip and then we delayed it. So we still went down during COVID. But yeah, that was the trip. I broke my face on the second day there. Oh, so actually some incredible life lessons, because I quickly realized I was living that life was an equation. Like if I do A plus B, life will give me C. And I got quickly reminded that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of long, very contemplative walks on the beach, trying to figure out why life wasn't giving me what I wanted it to, which was really healthy to do, actually.
So what did you do before surfing then?
I went to the University of Guelph and did an undergrad in marine biology. Oh, before surfing, for activities?
Yeah.
Oh, well, in Vancouver, it was snowboarding.
Oh.
It was frozen snow.
Okay, well, the snow doesn't move so much.
No. And then before that in Ontario, Ontario is such a playground. You got the Niagara Escarpment. It was rock climbing and mountain biking. And I did a lot of scuba diving.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Up in, because I was in marine biology, and then in grad school, I was running the undergraduate diving program. So I was doing stuff around the university and then in the Bay of Fundy on the field trips and then up in Tobermory. And yeah.
Wow.
So you can see why I would have problems sitting in front of a computer screen for 3 or 4 hours playing a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brad. I went to Jamaica one time, my one tropical trip. And my girlfriend at the time went on a scuba diving trip that was paid for. Like, you had to pay for it. And they went down, and I guess they didn't see anything. But while they were gone, I asked one of the locals, I was like, where can I go to see some underwater life? And he said, you see that rock out there in the water? Swim out to that. So I went and I swam out to this thing. And there was like manta rays and maybe lionfish or something like that. Yep. And there was life everywhere. And when I was swimming back, there was a school of fish. I don't know what they were. They were silver, and there was hundreds of them, and they were all around me. And I could look down and I could look to the side either way. And I was in the middle of this massive school of fish. And I saw this thing, and that's my marine story.
That's so cool. You know, the funny thing is that, you know, people that go snorkeling as opposed to scuba diving, you lose visible sunlight in the first 20 feet. Everything gets blue. So snorkeling is some of the best, you know, stuff you can do because, you know, you're seeing the color. Plus you're seeing most of the coral reefs.
Yeah, I ran my hand out and saw like the fish were like slipping through my fingers. It was amazing.
That's so cool.
It was amazing. Yeah. That's my marine.
I thought it was going to end that you discovered you were in a school of barracuda and it didn't go well.
No, it went incredibly well.
Love that.
That's what I can say.
Love it.
So I can't talk about any marine things because I've never. I mean, SeaWorld, but.
Oh yeah, yeah, me too.
The closest thing I came was watching Jaws and then being afraid of going in the ocean when I was 8 years old.
Can I share something similar about that? So, right, I'm a kid. I'm totally into whales, totally into killer whales. Best thing ever. My dad is working. He worked in construction, and they were doing a contract at Marineland in Niagara Falls, right? Gets permission to go behind the scenes, to go on the stage and have a one-on-one with the killer whales, right? Oh. I'm dying. I'm over the moon, right? A week before I go, my parents are doing something. My sister and I are watching TV, little tiny black and white, and Orca comes on television, which was this old horror movie that was like the killer whale version of Jaws. Yeah. With Richard Harris, and Bo Derek gets her leg eaten off. I watched this thing. Do you think I would go near that bloody whale at Marineland? Like, there's a picture of me standing in my winter coat with my toque on, and I've actually pulled my hands inside the coat. But I could have like gotten a kiss or shaken its flipper. My dad was like, Adam, what's going on? You love whales. No, I'm fine. No, I'm just fine right here. So what do you guys, okay, so that's what I do when I'm not sitting in front of a thing. What do you guys do when the summer is on where you guys are at?
Yeah, well, I mean, up here in the 15 days of summer we get here in the soup, we try and get out. I've got 2 kids here, both under 10.
Nice.
So we try and get out, like you say, there's so many hiking trails. They've been building a lot of new biking hub trails around here. Take the kids out. Soccer is a big one here.
That's great.
And then of course there's, you know, cottages here, local terminology we all call them camps, but there's always cottages and swimming and
I do all kinds of things. I do lots of art now, actually, in the last couple of years. And I'm looking at that painting behind you and I'm like, man, what the F is that? Because I like that.
So this is cool. This is impressionistic surfboards.
Yeah, well, it's awesome. Just tell you that. I love it.
Well, it can be yours at Pier 1 Imports.
Well,
which went bankrupt in Sudbury because it closed.
Yeah, or I'll make one of my own. But
because they were selling these too cheap. So what's your art that you do?
Well, I was gonna present you with a picture of Sindri, but because I have COVID, I don't have the energy really to draw. So I've been laid.
Well, that's no excuse.
Yeah, well, I know. I'm gonna tag you in it and get it to you after, which sounds lame.
No, not at all. I would be. I love anybody being creative. I would be so honored.
I don't know if I can.
But no pressure.
I don't think I have.
Hold on. Do you have the God of War one that you did, Clayton, for the expo? Because if not, I have it on my wall.
Do you?
Yeah, I'll go get it. One sec.
Oh, I want to see.
I do. some digital painting, I guess. I just did finish this one.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's in a bag, so it doesn't look that good.
No, it looks great.
Yeah.
But I started doing painting. My wife actually bought me a digital tablet, and so I started doing painting. And I do some like, obviously I play video games. I used to go to the gym a lot more than I do now. We actually bought a couple of old style bicycles, like
nice.
the old ones with the saddle seats and the fenders over both wheels, and we just go cruising. And yeah, just lots of stuff outside, actually.
Yeah, that's great.
Sometimes we go for walks, watch a lot of Netflix. I actually spend less time playing video games these days than I used to. I used to spend a lot of time on it. Then I met my wife, and you meet the right person, and it sounds bad, but it just changes your life, right?
No, it does.
It changes things. How
of course
it changes the cadence of your life and how things go.
Yeah. As it should.
I am always open to new things. If we had water here, I would go surfing. I have no coordination though, so I may give it up after a day or two. But that's what I do.
Gotcha.
Did you find that picture, Brad?
I did. But the backstory. So, like up here, there's lots of camping. Like lots to do outside. We typically take the kids tree climbing. There's a tree climbing park in Rouen, Quebec, which is about an hour and a bit away from us. There's zip lines and stuff. And then we have a 40-foot trailer that we use for our summer getaways. 15 minutes out of town, so it feels like you're out of town in the bush. And then when I'm not doing that, so me and a couple of my friends in 2015, we started a little game expo, and it's blossomed into a full-blown convention. So last year we launched NostalgiaCon, which is all like throwback stuff, and this coming October, this is a shameless plug, but we're going to Toronto, and we're doing one in Toronto.
And what are you doing in Toronto?
A convention called NostalgiaCon. But so Clayton is one of our artists that does an exclusive print, and I'm getting, so at our last show, Clayton did a God of War, and the lighting's really bad, but
wow,
that's awesome.
That's so moody.
Yeah, that one there. I was going for like Kratos is kind of remembering Faye and his son at the same time. So he's remembering the past, and his son is in the brighter part of the picture, kind of pointing to the future, pointing to adventure, pointing to Dad, let's go. We've got things to do,
Yeah.
And he's like, boy.
And you, boy. And you did that on the digital tablet?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
He's very hard on himself. If he doesn't like something, it's not, nobody will see it. So
yeah, that's why I could have had a picture for today, but it would have been rushed, and I can't.
It would have just been like a stick drawing.
Yeah, I can't live with that. So
wow, that's really good.
Yeah, exactly. I can tell the difference between genuine appreciation and like pandering.
It's so lifelike.
So moody.
He's up for another BAFTA for that one.
I don't know if you can see it though.
Oh yeah. Wow. Now, what's the inspiration behind that? Because it almost looks like there's a Japanese theme to it.
This one is actually the inspiration is my wife and just the mothers in general.
Yeah. Is that a parasol?
Yeah, behind her. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's more about the blooms though. So the sacrifice of mothers for their children, right?
Yeah. Beautiful.
The things that they do.
Yeah.
And so
you guys.
Canada's full of talent.
Canada is full of talent. Yeah.
Justin Bieber.
That's yes. Ryan Gosling, Jim Carrey,
yeah, that
Rachel
Ryan
McAdams, and that's only in the arts. All they do is speak and hit an X on the floor. And there's all the other industries.
So that's what we do in the summertime. Wintertime's completely different. I don't snow machine at all, and like that's the thing to do up here. No interest. Just spending time with the kids. I'm fortunate enough that I'm going to be able to take my oldest in April. I'm going back, but she's never been, but back to New Zealand in beginning April for 2 weeks, and then come back and literally 2 days after the time change of the 16-hour difference, I do my convention in Sudbury. So I'm going to be dead. I'm going to be dead to the world, but it's going to be worth it because just the memories that we're going to be able to make for her when we go. So I love traveling, and yeah.
Is your wife from New Zealand?
No, she's Timmins French. So she's like from Timmins, but when in 2005 I had an opportunity to go and travel, and I lived there for 8 months. And
where did you go?
I went everywhere. I mostly stayed in the North Island. South Island was nice, but it was very expensive. Like that's the tourist area. I made a lot of good friends there. But yeah, so and she after the restrictions lifted, I had one of my oldest friends lives there, and he brought his family, and I hadn't seen him for 17 years. So it was a nice reunion. And my oldest and his youngest, they're the same age, but they hit it off over 2 days. So gonna go back she's gonna get to see her again. So definitely you guys have to do it. Adam, after the shock of Ragnarok, you can feel sorry and go there. I'm feeling really down. I got to go somewhere happy.
You can go to Queenstown and see if Sindri's in the mountains of Mordor hiding.
Do you think Sindri would be a surfer?
God, no. No. Before or after. He wouldn't. No. Way too many things out of control. And let alone everything that would exist beneath the surface of the water. Plus, I think he's got some PTSD from going back to the lake. Yeah.
That's true. Adam, you got to get on it because it was tough. It was tough not talking about it.
I know. We did it, though.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Well, and I think
carve yourself out some time and experience the narrative.
Or you can just go on YouTube, and I think all the cutscenes are put together. I think it's 7 hours. Yeah,
that's still an impressive amount.
Yeah, on a dark winter's night when it's 25 below.
Yeah, especially up here in the Sioux. Yeah, I think. Well, and again, I think that's part of the thing about games versus TV shows, movies. Digestible content you get within half hour to an hour, 2 hours, and why, like you said, even at conventions, fans come and speak so passionately. Is that so much more time invested? I mean, sometimes, you're just hammering through a wave of armies for an hour until you get to the next cutscene. But again, that experience is so drawn out in video games. I'm the same as these guys. Like I have games. My kids love playing them, but I mostly live through my kids playing games and sit back and watch them. And locally here, I started amassing this kind of collection, and then one day going, what the heck am I doing with all this? And so I reached out to initially it was my local library, and I asked and said, do you guys want me to host local retro game nights? So I started bringing out collections, and it was free through the library. They gave me the space to do it, and I would just bring in so kids could sit down and actually play an original Atari and an Intellivision and original Nintendo.
Oh, wow.
Do a Mario night and things like that. And it was just kind of my way of doing like a little community give back, I guess. So now, since the whole pandemic and everything, the library has changed a lot of their protocols, but I did start doing this up again just back in September, and start doing it at a local video game store. And
That's
again,
awesome.
Free and for the community, and like I said, just my little way of again, sharing the games. Again, I don't play them, but at least some kids in the community get to. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Especially in this day and age when everyone's on TikTok and they have an attention span of 30 seconds. You realize in the gaming world, they're playing games for a lot longer than that. They're
that's
focused.
true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially seeing the kids experience what we considered very good cutting edge graphics back in the day, and all the block characters. A lot of games aren't really playable nowadays, but you try and make. And that's one of the nice things about, like, for Adam, for yourself traveling to conventions and us organizing, is like, it's for the people, like,
yeah,
to be able to interact with the faces and the voices of games that they're playing, or like our motto for NostalgiaCon is recapturing your youth, if only for a day, because I mean, all, like, the three of us are old, so
I would definitely go back. Like, we talked about this before, about not being able to recapture quite the same emotional highs, but I would definitely go back through God of War Ragnarok to experience the story again. Like, even if they don't come out with New Game Plus and I have to scrap everything and start off with, the wooden shield and sword, you know what I mean? Like, the real basic stuff, just to get that, because the voice acting, the characters, the setup, everything is so, it's like a movie. Like, and this is what I was saying before to you. The work that you guys do is really important. And I think I end up saying this. I say this to all the voice actors, but
bring it on. Let me hear it.
What you guys do is really important. And
thanks, man.
You guys are Hollywood caliber actors. Yeah. And now they even have you doing the mocap, right? Like, you're extremely important to us. And we, like, Adam hasn't played this game, but Brad can say the same. He can say the same thing. You guys do an incredibly important job, and we are thankful. Like, the production values have gone through the roof, and we realize that dev cycles have increased from like 8 to 16 months to 3-4 years. But it's always worth the wait when you guys deliver something as strong as you did with Ragnarok.
Thank you. What I discovered in learning about the gaming community, because I wasn't so much of a gamer and there was such a big gap of time between LA Noire and working on 2018, was the gaming community as a whole. A lot of people, like, are doing what you're doing. They're giving back. It's important. It's becoming part of the community. It's extremely supportive. I know there are times where things can get a little vitriolic and people having opinions, but there's always somebody coming in and saying, no, not in this world. Let's keep this down. We're all supportive of each other. And I think the production companies and Sony Santa Monica and all that stuff are part of the reason why you're saying, we are important and what we do is important, is because you as gamers demand it. That the world that you guys inhabit and what's important, and having stories behind a game that really matters, that it's not just, okay, let's just kill a bunch of people and all that stuff, that there is a demand there for these stories that have a through line and tell a more universal story experience and all that. So I really appreciate what you're saying, and thank you. And I would say my experience of the gaming community has just blown my mind, because it's sadly not reflected in a lot of other media experiences. There's not a lot of environments that are kind of supportive of everybody doing something, and people are supportive of each other's podcasts and doing things, and the gaming communities. There's a lot of goodwill there. And even with this game, the insight that gamers had about what's going on. Adam, there's moments in this game where Sindri is a grown man dumping on a child, like really emotionally dumping on a child. And what was beautiful to see is young people writing in and commenting and saying, he's just got some rage issues, or he needs to go get a timeout or something. And I thought, isn't it wonderful that young people now don't have authority figures raging on them, and young people are just taking it on, saying it's my fault, or fuck you, or, you know, screw you, or all that stuff, that they're astute enough to be like, wow, dude, you got some stuff. This isn't about me. And I thought those people are going to grow up so much more healthy.
Yeah.
That if they're seeing this in a game, you know, they're bringing that to their own lives.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially considering his dad, like Atreus' dad, the original Rage Daddy.
Yeah, but also the other thing too is a lot of the men, especially that worked on Ragnarok, and women too, but the men had all grown up with those games and were now fathers themselves, so they were writing their own experiences. Yeah, which I think is why it was so universal.
So sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, with God of War and your experiences there, is there any other gaming franchise or perhaps even movie franchise, anything that you would be interested in getting involved with? Anything like Star Wars or the Marvels or the DC universe, or anything like that would interest you? Any other franchise?
Anything that could be under the umbrella of job would be nice. Anything that covers the term day rate or perhaps salary. Franchise. I would have loved to have been in the Indiana Jones world. Sadly, that has come to rest. Star Wars, I'd be a stormtrooper in the background. Same with Marvel. Easily another. I mean, if there is a future after Ragnarok, I mean, absolutely, hands down. Love to revisit Sindri. But I'm kind of a journeyman actor. I'll go where there's something needed. I really enjoy being drawn to things that have a universal story. I can see there's audiences for it, but things that are just kind of destructive with no point is a bit hard for me to get behind. And yet I know that as for a pure entertainment value, that's good. I'm trying to think if somebody said, what would you like to do next? Oh, absolutely. Surfer bum in a surf movie. Oh yeah. I'd just be the stoned out guy working at the surf shop, not being able to do. I'll share this story. This is why I loved it so much. I was watching recently in Huntington Beach, they did the Para Surf International Games. So it's people with disabilities all being able to surf in different ways that their bodies are able to. Some people could actually stand up, other people are sitting down in different ways, but it was phenomenal. But the announcer was going through, they had done the individual scores, but the group scores for the teams, the different countries were going to have to wait because they had to calculate it. And the announcer comes on, he's like, well, we're still waiting for the group scores, but yeah, that's a lot of math. I just started laughing. I was like, that's the guy I would play. That's the guy I'd be playing. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of luck in the industry I have, and I know as we all do in our own industries, our own jobs, no matter what they are, you have to really work your butt off and then get lucky. Because there's a lot of people that have worked their butts off in whatever career path, and they're not getting any luck, and that sucks. So I know that I work really hard, but there's a lot of luck, and I'm just so lucky that I get to do what I get to do. I'm doing that Streamily event, and I get a knock on the door from 3 guys from Ontario, from places that I've visited in an area of the world that I have such a deep love for and miss it constantly. Like, this stuff's cool.
That's the nice thing about social media is it
connects people.
Yeah, there's a lot of private people, and that's totally respectable. But it makes it a lot easier. And I always give this guy credit because without Dan Allen, I wouldn't be doing this. And I started following him years ago, and he just, like, watching the videos, I was like, I could do that. And then, like, our very first guest was David Bateson, who voices Agent 47 from Hitman. and like it went from there, and it just like it has its flaws of social media, but it makes it so that we can reach out and say, like, I know you're working on a million things. Can you do it 1,000,001 and come and talk to us for an hour or 100%?
Hey,
so
let's keep that average up.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like you said, Adam. Like, we're just three guys in Northern Ontario, and all of a sudden, someone that I've been watching on TV for years now says, "Yeah, we'll do the podcast." So I mean, our minds are just blown that we're sitting.
Well, you're very welcome.
Yeah, we can sincerely.
I'm kidding.
We sincerely appreciate your time here.
I think that's kind of the cool. Sorry, Adam, go ahead.
No, I was gonna.
Okay.
Hey, exactly that. I mean, a true Canadian to be so polite and to give us your time.
I think you said something interesting that I want to correct, though. You said we're just these guys living in these little cities elsewhere, and what I want to say is you're not. The only thing that other people have sometimes is access, and the internet and social media and all that stuff now gives people more access. So you're these guys living in these cities, but you reached out and I loved your platform and what you were doing. So yeah, of course I'm here. I should be so effing lucky that somebody wants to talk to me. That's the way I look at it. So thank you right back to you. And I get to talk a little bit of nostalgia and spend a couple hours with some Canadians.
You had talked about being lucky in the industry. Do you have any upcoming projects that you can talk about, or is it all under wraps? Or
No. Well, anything in the Sony Santa Monica world is under wraps, so I can't talk about anything like that. And I will say, when people say what's coming next for Sindri and all that stuff, I mean, I have my wouldn't it be cool if, but I have no idea. But I always say, much like I had no idea what Ragnarok was going to be, I won't even hazard to guess what's coming next, because the team at Sony Santa Monica are so phenomenal that whatever I could think of, they would crush with their idea, if there is an idea. And again, I don't know anything. Future project at this point, there is an Apple TV series scheduled to come out next year called Palm Royale. It is a very over-the-top comedy about a have-not wanting to be a have in Palm Beach in Miami in the 1960s. The have-nots are people that aren't of wealth, and the haves are the ones that are. So she's climbing the ladder. Yeah, and it's with Kirsten Wiig, who came to fame on Saturday Night Live, and Allison Janney, who was on West Wing and then countless movies, and Carol Burnett.
Really?
Wow.
Yes, and Ricky Martin and Josh Lucas and countless others. But yeah, Carol Burnett, and she and I got to spend a little bit of time together, and I got to kibitz with her. We had a little bit of a connection from something in the past, and she was so gracious. They all were, actually. Kirsten Wiig was amazingly gracious and generous. It's one of the most fun sets I've ever been on, but Carol Burnett was extraordinary. I got to watch. I was 5 feet from her in rehearsals, and we'd been on set for hours, and then they moved on to the scene where she had this big monologue, and I swear to God, I'm watching her do this monologue. She was 89 years old, didn't look at her sides at all, and I watched the rehearsal of the monologue, and I thought, if this show hits and it's in the zeitgeist, that will be a nomination for an Emmy. It was just extraordinary and so gracious. I think that's one of the things that I'm continually blown away from in life, is that people that are truly generous, when I've seen examples of people at that same level that are not.
Yeah.
And the assumption is, I think, not only in entertainment, but in any workforce, that when you get to a certain point, you get to be not generous. That somehow that's what we aspire to be, and we poo-poo everybody else and all that. And to get to work in environments, whatever they are, where people are still generous, I love seeing that, because I do think that's a good way to live.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's coming out. As far as video games, I can't say anything.
Yeah, video games is one of those things that, like you said, you sign an NDA that's for an NDA. It's another problem with social media is there's always leaks, and then somebody's always finding something, and like like that. Especially even when God of War, like before it was Ragnarok, like there was a big leak that it was Ragnarok, and they had the logo that's been used. It takes away from the excitement for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And especially like you guys that put all this work, blood, sweat, and tears into your characters to have it leaked before like anything, and just the anticipation, it's not necessarily gone because a lot of people can avoid it, but there's just the hype doesn't seem like it's there after it's already been talked about before, which is why Adam, play the friggin' game, man.
That was a long way around to get to that.
I didn't sign an NDA, but like I don't want to ruin it. So
I think we've done a good job, though. I think we've done a good job. Not
certainly
not
brought
giving
enough
away.
hype to it. I am more than ready to
good.
down, turn the
Good.
PS4 on, get the first
And
one
further
going.
what you were saying earlier, there are some people that after a break, because they played the whole game, which takes upwards of 70 hours, they know they're not going to get the same experience again. But I've talked to some people who go back and play it, if only to have a little bit of that. Like now they've had all the first experiences, and now they're going back almost in a nostalgia way to just be reminded of the first experiences. It's really cool. Yeah. But yeah, play the effing game.
So I always ask, and you don't have to, but does Sindri have anything he wants to say to?
Does he have anything to say to Canada?
There you go. That's kind of what I meant to say, but not.
But is Sindri?
Yeah.
It's awfully buggy. There's a lot of flies.
Oh yeah, you've been there.
But you always wipe your feet and you take your shoes off. So I thank you for that. Now, Sindri at the end of the game.
Yeah. It's a little different.
I think this is probably what he would say. That's all you get.
See, that's the intensity I'm talking about.
That's the intensity you're talking about. Yeah, I have played a lot of borderline sociopathic killers. I think it's it's the eye color, shape of my face. I think there's some things that different actors bring to it. But for some reason I was able to tap into some rage. Oh, I know another thing. One more thing I know that Sindri would say about Canada, but I won't say it in Sindri's voice, is it would remind him of home. Just the geography.
So yeah, just before we wrap, I know you had mentioned that you're traveling. Are you coming back to Canada for Christmas, or you're going warm?
I certainly am coming back. I will be in Toronto for the holidays and very much looking forward to it. I think I've either lost my edge for the cold, or I never really had it in the first place and just told myself I was having fun when I was shivering all the time. So I got to dress.
Okay.
Got to
just. Not going to be cold here for the next. It's
very
2
mild.
Oh, isn't it?
We got rain. We got rain up here.
-1.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah. I am doing my best to convert Americans to instruct them on what a toque is. It's a never-ending battle.
Good luck.
I have a question for all three of you. Do you guys get to see the Northern Lights on a regular basis?
I don't.
Where I am, we're fortunate. Like whenever my wife hears that it's possible, we'll take the truck and we'll drive out as soon as you get away from all of the light pollution. She's seen it a couple times. I'm usually dead to the world by 10 o'clock.
Gotcha.
But yeah, she's gotten it a couple times. So it's very, very beautiful when you do get to see it, but you see it a lot better through the lens because it picks it up a lot better.
Yeah, I miss that. And I miss getting to see the Milky Way.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, that is very cool.
One thing here too. Even it's not far to get outside the Sioux and outside of the ambient light, and
Yeah.
so you can really take in a lot of the sky splendor.
Here in LA, I will see 1 star. You get the moon, and then 1, just hanging on for dear life, and that's about it. Yeah, guys, this has been a really nice way to spend a Saturday afternoon.
We sincerely
really appreciate it. Where can people find you on social media if they're trying to see any information?
They can find me as Adam J. Harrington on Twitter and Instagram.
Well, hopefully, if we do hear some more of Sindri's exploits, we'd love to have you back on to talk about anything like that. I mean, God of War is one of those games. It's nostalgic for a lot of people, the older stuff, and just the storytelling is absolutely incredible. So we definitely love to have you back on.
Well, anytime, guys. And I wish you all happy holidays, safe travels, and all the best. Hopefully, I think everybody's got PTSD for the last subsequent 3 years, but hopefully the next one will start to be better for everybody. Well, anyway, on that note, guys, it was a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam.
Take care. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.